In this video, I will show you how I built a moss terrarium in a glass cube. This 10 cm cube enclosure was made by me. In fact, I built 4 of these. I bought the template from Etsy, cut out the glass and joined them together with black silicone. It is actually easier to make them than you think. And they look really cool. One interesting feature of the cube is that more than one side can be used as the face, which makes it a left-handed person-friendly enclosure as well. I will be using it with the door side in the front. I start by using isopropyl alcohol on a microfiber cloth to clean and disinfect the enclosure. This step is important as I do not want any oil or gum residue to remain on the glass. I will be using these black lava rocks for the hardscape. It is lightweight and will not make our build too heavy, which is a good thing considering I am working with very thin 3mm glass. The pores on these rocks are also useful for housing beneficial bacteria which will keep our ecosystem healthy and bioactive. I place the bigger rock against the back wall and support it with another smaller one at the base. I further support this rock with another piece so that the other rocks do not slide and move forward. I will remove this piece later. I pinch out a small portion of aquarium filter floss and insert it between the rocks. I put in a few drops of cyanoacrylate superglue on it, which joins them instantly. This technique is a proven and fast way to join uneven surfaces very easily in hardscaping. Tissue paper bits can also be used instead of filter floss. I remove the rock structure from the cube and reinforce it further in the same way using floss and superglue. I want to make this rock structure look really interesting and detailed, so I select some tiny pieces of driftwood and attach them on it with glue to give it a root over rock kind of look. I always take my time when creating hardscapes. It is the backbone for any build, and the final outcome of a terrarium depends a lot on the hardscape design. Once the design has been achieved to my satisfaction, I proceed to carve out the driftwood with a paper knife to make it look more natural. I place the hardscape in the enclosure and it sits in place perfectly. I move forward with the next step, for which I mix 2 parts of aquasoil powder and 1 part of sphagnum moss with water to create a paste. This will be used as substrate to create a wall for the moss and plants. I use a clamp to hold the door of the cube open so that it will be easy to work inside it. I start placing the substrate paste on the glass and continue doing it until the entire panel is covered. I use a cork stopper fixed at the end of a skewer to flatten it out. Next, I place the hardscape against the wall and add more substrate around it. I flatten it out and use a chopstick to remove any air gaps. The scape is now ready for planting. Using my tweezers, I start to plant moss on the substrate. I covered the entire wall with moss and pressed them firmly in place with the flat end of my chopstick. I take care to ensure that all areas around the rocks are covered with moss. I have some revived moss in this box here. The new growth from an almost dried out patch of moss is fascinating to see. I pick some of the newly growing moss stems and plant them on the moss wall. This will create a nice texture and color contrast. I plant a few more moss cuttings around the rock and gently press everything in place with the chopstick. I'm adding cosmetic sand in the foreground. I pour in enough to cover the area and spread it out with a brush. I add some gravel and pour some more sand on top of it. I use the brush to blend it all together to make it look natural. I mist the terrarium at this point using reverse osmosis water. I stay away from using tap water for my terrariums as it is very hard in my region and leaves marks on the glass and plants. It will also be harmful for the ecosystem in the longer run. I resume planting with a Selaginella cutting. I place it on the moss wall and plant a few more around the hardscape. I like this plant for its tiny leaves and bluish hue. It is a perfect choice for small builds like this where scale plays a vital role. Cuttings of Ficus Pumila minima are then added at few places. This is a dwarf variety of the creeping fig and grows very easily in enclosed spaces. I place Anubias nana petite at the top above the main driftwood piece. It will give the impression of a ficus tree sending down roots over the rock. I plant 1 more Anubias on the extreme left to balance the whole composition. One more driftwood piece is added on the right side and two tiny ones in the foreground for some extra detailing. Time now to add some springtails. They are my cleaning crew and will help to fight mold outbreaks, if any, in this terrarium ecosystem. In the end, I also decided to plant a cutting of Fittonia pink to add a touch of color. I think it completes the look. This has been an interesting project for me, right from building the glass cube to scaping it with moss and plants. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up and see you in the next one. Thank you.